We are now continuing with God's help, the speech of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, which is written down and put in pamphlets that are called Dvar Malchut, the words of the king. These are speeches that the Rebbe gave in 1991, 1992, some of 1990 also, and they talk in a very a unique way and a very enthusiastic way about Moshiach. That topic of Moshiach really, really dominates these speeches that the Rebbe is giving in these years. Moshiach was always a very dominant topic by the Rebbe, and the reason is because the whole world was created just for Moshiach. That's the purpose of the world. That's the goal of the world. That's what Abraham realized. That's why he's the first Jew. Because the whole idea of Moshiach is to reveal God, the creator, in the world, and also the reason for creation, to reveal that in the world. And that's what Moshiach is going to do. Moshiach is going to educate all mankind. He's going to be the example for all mankind. And that's what Chassidut Chabad is. Chassidut Chabad is called TORAH HaMashiach, the teachings of Moshiach. So just like with Abraham, sometimes this requires great self-sacrifice, and it requires also sacrifice of also our accomplishments in life, sometimes. And sometimes it means it's not going to be popular. But it's necessary. It's essential. In a way, it's the only really essential topic in life. Essential. All the others more or less can be done away with, which we see from Abraham. Abraham so much, he wanted to bring the Moshiach to the world, to perfect the world, that the whole world would believe only in the Creator, and feel the Creator, that God said, sacrifice your son. He said, okay, that was, if Abraham would have sacrificed his son, we'll learn about that next week. That would have been it for Abraham. I mean, that would have been the end. We would have to start the whole, God would have had to create a new Abraham, because he was already 137 years old. His son was his whole promise, is all he lived for. And if he would kill him, that's it. He would wreck everything up. But Abraham was willing to do everything and lose everything in order to bring the Moshiach. So it's a pretty important subject, pretty happy subject. And even more, it says in the Tanya that Abraham, the main thing of Abraham sacrificing his son was not that he did it, he was willing to do this abhorrent, impossible thing, but he did it with happiness. Okay, so, but now we're talking about this week's Torah portion, which is Lech Lecha, that God is telling Abraham to go out of himself. You want to bring godliness into the world, you want to prepare the world for the Torah and for Mashiach, you have to go out of yourself. That's the whole idea of Lech Lecha. Go out of your land to the land that I show you. Sha'avram, that Abraham, lo istapek. He was not, even though Abraham served God. When this Torah portion starts, Abraham was 75 years old. And the Torah doesn't tell us about any of his accomplishments or his adventures or his experiences or his trials or his sacrifices and his challenges that he had in that time, before 75 years. It starts off with Abraham being 75 years old and God saying, leave everything you've done. Leave all of your accomplishments, leave the land of your fathers, go to the land I show. Avram lo istapek, that Avram was not satisfied. He was not satisfied with it. Once they asked the Lubavitcher Rebbe, they came from, I think it was BBC. The Rebbe used to give out dollars to people every Sunday. There was a line of, 5,000, 10,000 people would stand, and the Rebbe would give dollars out to everybody. And the reason he would give a dollar bill, sometimes more, the reason he would give dollars out because he wanted the people to either use those dollars or exchange them for other dollars, but to give charity. Right? I'm giving you $1, you give $1 also. Give $1 to someone else. But you want to keep that dollar as a memento or whatever, keep it. But you have to give charity, to encourage people to give from themselves. That's what, okay. So they came from BBC and they asked the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, are you happy? Which that's a big, that's like the goal of I remember when I was growing up a kid, it was my parents were wonderful people, but they were non-religious. If it makes you happy, that was the slogan. It wasn't Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu. It was, if it makes you happy. That's the thing. That was the general guiding light in education. If it makes you happy, I think it still is pretty much. If it makes you happy, like they say in the old days, parents used to teach their children to talk. Now, children teach their parents to shut up. If it makes you happy. So they asked the Rebbe, are you happy? So the Rebbe said, I'm happy, but I'm not satisfied. I'm happy, but I'm not satisfied. Abraham was not satisfied in the service that he had served God for 75 years before that. Total self-sacrifice. He wasn't satisfied. Even though it was a tremendously high level of service of God. But according to the commandment of God, as soon as God said, leave, he left his place. He left all of his past achievements. He left his comfort zone. He left his perfected personality. Abraham had perfected himself to a very high level. He was 75 years old. He experienced a lot of things in that time. And that time he was serving God. He understood the world. But Abraham left the whole thing and he went. Then there was a whole new type of service of God, which was called moving. Halicha. Abraham brought moving into the world. Spiritual moving. Shalicha mitit. True moving means halicha shelo be'erech. It means moving in comparison, leaving your place, right? Halicha means to walk. When you walk, what do you do when you walk? A normal person, when he walks, what does he do? He moves from the place where he is to a totally new place. It could be that it's 1 foot in front of where he was, but still it's not the same place. That's what it means, halicha lo be'erech. Sheyatzeh legamri, he leaves totally his previous place where he was. That's true walking, moving. Even if he's a holy person, he wants to be higher. Halicha shalamaylam and medida babel. It says is a walking which is above any limitation. And in this itself, hoya etzlo hamshech shalalicha v'nesia darga achar darga. You can go level after level. That Abraham went haloch v'nesoa negba. He went level after level, higher levels of love of God. That's what it means. He went to the south. Ub'shnei kivunim. He walked in 2 directions. First of all, he walked from below to above, improving himself constantly. Like we said, higher levels of appreciation and love of God. He left the land of Haran, and he went to the land that I will show you, to the land of Israel, a holy land. Pirusho, Oscha, I'll show you yourself. From above to below. He began to do the service of joining the upper worlds with the lower worlds. Abraham elevated himself constantly. And he also brought down from, it's like doctors, doctors, there's an interesting thing about doctors. I sort of didn't know this, but doctors are always learning. That's the way it's supposed to be. There's these journals of doctors, they make these big conventions, and doctors are always presenting new ideas. Maybe this is true about scientists in general. They're presenting new ideas all the time. New methods, new principles, new, procedures, constantly improving. They're not satisfied, and so they're always going up, more and more knowledge. But on the other hand, they're bringing it down. They want to heal people. Lahamshich, to draw down. Same thing with Abraham. He was like a doctor. He was always improving himself to know more and more about what health, spiritual health, really is, and also to bring that down, to bring godliness into this physical world. Which is below. There's nothing below it. Both in Nailioter in the highest way. Higher than what it was before that. Ukamudgash gam la'achar mikan, as is hinted at afterwards, after this commandment of Milah. Beshino Yashem, that Abraham's name was changed from Avram to Avraham. What does it mean? God said, Avamon goyim nataticha, I am making you the father of all mankind. Lifnei came beforehand, Abraham was just Avram, a high father. Shaloya Av El Aram, it says he was only the father. There's a lot of explanations. One we said, like the Alter Rebbe said, he was a very high father. But he says he was only just a father. He only had an influence on a very small place in the world called Aram Narayim. The Achshav, and now you became a father to the whole world. Hainu, Shenasta, you become Alicha, that Abraham was moving in the world, Shu Pol Achibur, Lo Rak B'Makomo, not in his only with a place where he was, right? That his immediate surroundings, but Abraham actually had an effect on the whole entire world. He became the father of all nations. They say that the Hindu religion originated by Abraham. It says that Abraham sent his wives to the east and he gave them presents. Like a present, you receive a present on your birthday. And it says, what were these presents? These were names of impurity that he gave to them. What does it mean, impurity? Impurity means of selfishness. So this was spiritually selfish names. How to achieve spiritually selfishness. In order to use God for your own, in order to achieve this spiritual selfishness, right? It means you have to be to a certain degree of purity. Not necessarily. I mean, there can be a certain. If you achieve a spiritual purity, then you can justify anything in the name of spirituality. Anything you can justify. All of the 10 Commandments. You can justify murder and rape and everything. You can justify because you're a spiritual person, and you do it in the name of spirituality. And there's black magic and there's white magic and there's this and this. Okay, but that's what it says, that Abraham had an influence, that he let people know that there is such a thing as connecting to God. You can connect to God like the Tower of Babel also did. And that's why they say that the highest caste in Hindus are called Brahmins, from Abraham, Abram. Is it true? I don't know. Anyway, it could be. They did develop at the same time. Abraham was like 4,000 years ago, and that's when that religion started. And it did start in the East. In any case, Abraham's idea was supposed to be to bring Moshiach, that Moshiach is going to educate the whole world, that there's a creator, and the creator is creating everybody. He's creating big people and small people and stupid people and smart people. And he's creating all the different colors of people and all the different ideas of people and personalities of people. Everyone is being created by God. And everyone has tests. There's some things in your personality that you have to resist, that you have to defy. There's some things in your personality you can transform. You can, how do they call it? Sublimate, or there was the better word. Freud had all these words for redirecting your energy. And you can be a bala bias on them. Even though Shehu Echad Bein Hamon, even though that Abraham was only one person, and they're called Hamon, they are vast multitudes. And here's the place again to stress, which I've said it so many times, but anyway, one person can change the whole world. Noah was one person, he saved the whole world. Abraham was one person that wants to change the whole world. Therefore, God gave the land of Israel to one person, Abraham. God gave the job of convincing the whole world that there's a God, there's a creator, to one person, Abraham. You can say now there's a lot of Jews. It's not so. There's only one Jew, who each and every one is one. Each and every one is that one. And the same thing by the non-Jews. Each and every one is Noah. Each and every one is that one. You can't say somebody else will do it. Let somebody else be good. Let somebody else change the world. Who am I? I'm a nobody. Right? This is a big, what do you call it? A lie, whatever. It's not so. Each and every person, and you don't have to be smart. All you have to do is be honest and brave and happy. You got to be happy. If you're not in a good mood, nobody cares to listen to you. Nobody will care to listen to you anyway. But at least you'll have a good mood. At least you won't be knocked down by it. But Od Yoter, and even more, Miatokef el Eitan shall Eitan Yotam Avram, because Avram was called an Eitan, he was called a powerful one. The one depends on the other. Because by Abraham there was a going. Abraham moved. Shalo be'erich, incomparably to the previous level where he was. That Abraham went to the lowest level. What does it mean to the lowest level? God said, now with your circumcision, you are going to be the father of all of the world. You know what type of people live in the world? Let's not talk about it. Open up the newspaper. You don't have to go far. Open up the newspaper. Open up CNN, right? Let's see how low people are. Just look at all the things that they say about Trump and this. If it's true, you see the lowest of the low. If it's not true, then they're even lower. They're even lower. They made up these things. They're not even true. Here you get a glimpse in 1 second. You can see how low and disgusting and false the world is. And God made Abraham a father over those people as well. Therefore, therefore it brought, because Abraham came down so low, it brought to this level of Ereka. I showed you. That's what we learned in Likkutei and Torah Or, right? The idea of bringing godliness down into the world takes a special power, and it evokes a special power. Agala otcha b'atzmo, I reveal your essence. Now we are not anyway, don't take this wrong. There was an evil Jew, there was a name called Shabbatai Tzvi. He took this thing totally wrong, and he said, we have to do sins. If you do sins, that's coming the lowest. By the lowest, you come to the highest. I mean, you can understandably, he was pretty popular. You know, this is a pretty, how do you say, acceptable idea. You know, I want to know, what should I do, Rabbi? Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Yeah, just don't get caught. Okay? Why, thank you, Rabbi. You're a good rabbi. Okay, good. I'm sorry, I have somebody else on the line. Yes. Hello, Rabbi. I want to know. Listen, just do whatever you want. Okay? Whatever you want to. Hello, this is a recorded message. This is Rabbi. Do whatever you want. Right? If you want, I'll even put a kosher stamp on it. No, that's not what he's saying at all. He's not saying that. There are definitely things that Abraham came into the world to tell people to stop doing. And one of the best examples was idolatry. He went and he broke idols. Abraham wasn't saying, go as low as you can, and that's good. He was saying, you're already as low enough, not low enough. Stop worshiping idols. Start thinking about your creator. Stop thinking about yourself all the time, what you're going to receive, and bow down to stars and people and things like this. Believe only in the creator. That's what it says, Agala etcha. That's what lech lecha means. Ereka, I will reveal your essence, God said to Abraham. Similarly, the other way around, by the power of going. Halicha lamaila maila yoter. By means of this, he reached the highest levels. By means of this, by means of receiving these high levels, Yochalimi is able to purify even the lowest levels. Until the lowest and the highest levels, they unite. Like this is made, b'shleimus in Matan Torah. The lowest levels were brought to the highest. How do we see in the Matan Torah and giving of the Torah that the highest and lowest levels? Look at the Ten Commandments. Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments, God revealed his essence, himself. It says everyone's souls jumped out of their bodies. Now you figure if God did that, he would reveal in this book these like deep mystical sentences that no one can understand except for the select few, right? And this book would be kept in the holy of holy inner sanctums that no one can open it, right? And if you open up this book, so like you become confused or whatever, what does it say? You open up this book and it says grumble with all sorts of weird signs and things. No. What did God say in the Ten Commandments to reveal himself? Don't kill. That's it. Oh no, there's more. Honor your parents. Oh, come on. 1 second. There's more. Don't commit adultery. I mean, seriously, that's what you got on your mind, God, the essence of God. What are you even thinking about adultery? What do you think about murder? Who's thinking about murder? A person that's going to be pure God. You should be talking about Atzilus and Atik and the inner level of crown of God and things like this. What are you talking about this? God says, 1 second. Also, don't lust. Don't lust. Don't give false evidence. Enough. Come on, enough. Don't worship other idols. Keep the Shabbat. What does that mean? What are you supposed to do with it? Oh yeah, don't light fires in your house and don't carry things out. Don't write letters on Shabbat. And this is what the essence of God is talking about. This is what type of a thing is that? It says that's the whole idea of the Torah, revealing the essence of God into the lowest places to murderers. God is talking to potential murderers that he has to tell them, don't kill. Huh? That's who the Torah is given to the lowest of lows. That's what Abraham prepared the world for, that the whole world would know. And interestingly enough, the whole Western world, they, pretty much accept the 10 Commandments. 10 Commandments, even though that they transgress all of them. I mean, it says, you're supposed to worship only the God that took the Jews out of Egypt. That's what it says. And the God that created the world, that's the first two and of the 10 Commandments. And the fourth commandment, God created the heavens and the earth. You're supposed to worship only the Creator that took the Jews, and that's what people do. Okay, they also worship. Yesh Lama, we can say, Shazeo Biur, what it says in Lech Lecha. Because God brought, by means of Abraham, brought godliness into the physical world. He, Parsha Shlishis, Lech Lecha is the third, chapter in this Parsha Shlishis in the Torah. The first book of the Torah is Bereshit. And then it starts getting divided into chapters. The first chapter is called Bereshit. That's the story of the creation of the world and Adam. The second is called Shemot, Noah. The second book is called Shemot. The second chapter is called Noah. That's the story of the flood with Noah. And the third chapter is called Lech Lecha. That's Abraham. The third chapter in the Torah is called Lech Lecha. Now, that's number 3. Now, we talked before about the number 3, how number 3 is being very special. Number 3 says, number 3, there was a spiritual and physical, and then there's the third power that unites them both. Shlishit, this is the third chapter in the triple Torah. The Torah is triple. Why is it triple? Because there's Torah, and there's the prophets, and then there's the writings, Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. The Torah, then there's the prophets. Prophets are like Samuel was a prophet, and Isaiah, and then there's the writings like Psalms and so. Shekena Torah, the tochen, because the content of this week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha, it's a preparation and a beginning to giving the Torah. And the Torah, we said, is a triple Torah. Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, Tanakh. This is connected with the third pillar of God's personality, the middle pillar, which joins the upper worlds and the lower worlds. There's Bereshit, that's the first chapter of the Torah, and this hints at the heavens. Its main thing is talking about the creation of the world by Hashem, by God, upper world. Noah is talking about how everybody was sinning. And how Noah came and he resolved the whole thing with this flood. That's a second. That's talking about Noach. This is what happened in the lower worlds. And this, the third chapter, this is talking about Abraham. Abraham, Lech Lecha, this is the third chapter of the Torah. This whole thing is joining the upper worlds, which is hinted at by Bereshit, God creating the world, and the lower worlds, which is hinted at Noah, when everyone was sinning. And that united, this third united them, and that's a preparation for the giving of the Torah. That's the whole idea of joining the upper worlds and the lower worlds. Joining the upper worlds and the lower worlds, that is done in this week's Torah portion. And we'll talk about that, God willing, more tomorrow. And now let us do Hayom Yom. Okay. Just Hebrew. Wrong. Made a mistake. Let's do it again. There we go. All right. This week, Abraham receives the first commandment, mitzvah. The word mitzvah means commandment. Mitzvah. Mitzvah comes from the word of to join. Tzavta, tzevet. When you do a mitzvah, you're not just doing what God says or what he said a long time ago or what it says in the Bible. When you do a mitzvah, you're connecting yourself to the essence of God. Whoever issues, who God is the one he's the commander. When you do a command, that connects you to the commander. Now, it's very important to understand that God gave the Torah, yes, 3,000 whatever years ago, but the Torah is not just explaining what God wanted when he gave the Torah, or what God wanted when he developed Judaism. The Torah is explaining what God is now. And like I said, it's like looking at an anatomy book, and you see there's the anatomy of the skull, the bones, and then the next page shows you the nervous system and the endocrine system and the circulatory system, the digestive system. Then the next page shows you the musculatory system. And then you look and say, 1 second, when was this book written? This book was written in 1954. Now it's different. That was just back then. That's a picture of that person, but every person is different now. That's, of course, ridiculous. Anatomy, that's the way it is. The Torah is the anatomy of God. The difference, though, is anatomy book, it's a book, right? A corpse has the same anatomy as a live person. But the Torah is alive, and God is alive. The Torah is showing us what God is right now. This is God's will right now. When you do a commandment, you are doing what God wants right now. When you do what a person wants, if that person is an important person, so that makes you important. You're connected to what he, right? That's the idea of the reward of a commandment is the commandment itself. Namely, by doing a commandment, you're attached to God. That's the reward. This can be understood through an analogy from the physical world. An extremely simple person has an inner sense of like sort of worthlessness before a wisdom and a greatness of a tremendous scholar. And compared to this person, who am I? He senses himself to be not a nothing. The great sage or the great genius or whatever, he doesn't perceive this simple person as even being a human being, right? He's just he's thinking in his terms of whatever is music or philosophy or whatever he's thinking about, and he's just thinking about these people are just, they're just like pictures or something like that. Not that he rejects this person; that would be an evil trait. He just doesn't fit into this person's, right? The scholar or the musician or whatever. Simple people just don't fit into his life at all. They're just, when this great sage instructs the simple man to do something for him, would you do me a favor, please, and bring me a tissue? Would you do me a favor, please, and bring me a pencil? That command brings the simple person into being. In his own self-perception, he's no longer a nothing, but somebody. He's assumed the status to himself. He's able to carry out the order of the sage. And it's him that the sage addressed and instructed, and the eyes of the sage too. The simpleton now exists. He's somebody. So now the simple person, because he gets a command from the genius, so now he feels connected to a genius. And also the genius looks at the simple person, and now he's a somebody. They can talk to him. How are you? How's your family? What is more, the command actually unites the high sage with the simple person. The analogy is obvious. That's the right word, the analog. Anyway, analogy is simple. It is understood. Okay, maybe that's the right word. I don't know. Okay. It is understood that the above analogy, there is no difference what the commandment is about, whether it's a great thing or a simple or a trivial one. It's a little bit hard to relate to this nowadays in our time, but maybe a little bit you can see in these rock and roll stars. Now nobody honors anybody. Everybody scoffs at everybody else. The more high the genius a person is, the more he is rejected by everybody. But we see this like with the movie stars, but more so maybe with the music stars, right? People go, they're fans of whoever this big star is standing up there, and the big star, he gave me his pen, he gave me a sequin from his vest or something. Oh, this is a big thing. Or he says, would you do me a favor, give me that rag, I can wipe my forehead. Oh, this is, what he did. He remembers this his whole life, especially if somebody took a picture of it. Oh, here's me giving something to the Elvis Presley. Who knows? All of a sudden, he becomes worthwhile. It's a big thing. Okay, it's just a simple example. But what we're saying over here is, what is a commandment? A commandment means that God directly asks us to do something. And when we do it, then we become more important in our own eyes because we're connected to God. And also we become more important, so to speak, in God's eyes because we're doing the commandment. We're connected to him. Commandment means connection. Mitzvah is from the language of tzavta, connection. Have a good day with Moshiach. Now, God willing, at 3:00, we'll continue learning in the Chumash. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.